And we're back once again, only on it's Last Call. Last Call, the alcohol, only on the lastcallpodcast.com. And once again, we always love having him on the show because he is not just going to break troops, not just because he is, you know, straight down the middle, straight shooter, unabashed. He's also the hottest MMA free agent on the market. That's right. If you want to hire this man to drop F bombs, MMA knowledge, and even some hot takes, screw Stephen A. Smith. This is the man you got to hire. I give you once again from Tapology and also from the MMA Oddsbreaker podcast. I give you Marcel Dorff. So Marcel, let's jump right into the action here, and we'll say this it was you watched it, so a lot of us didn't have to.
Mhm.
UFC Fight Night, Las Vegas 116 is in the books. We'll start the main fight because that seems to be like one of the few stories that we are happy about. Aljamain Sterling defeated Yusuf Zalal by unanimous decision. This was a dominant performance. It wasn't sexy, but it was dominant. So this begs the question: is Aljamain Sterling back in the conversation for title shot at 145?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me. Yeah, you for sure is, but I mean, for me, it wasn't a surprise. Listen, I like Yusuf Zalal a lot, but I felt like Aljo had probably a massive ground advantage against him, and it showed. I also think his striking is getting better, which is good for Aljo because that was always kind of a little bit of his how do you say that? Of a questionable thing with him is striking, but I think he's becoming a complete MMA fighter with still being grappling heavy. But he's good, and he showed levels he had last night. Only I think won 1, 2, and 5, lost round 3, and won 4 by 10-8, in my opinion. So I fully agree with the 49-45 scorecards from the judges. I thought he looked really good, man. And even after that dump he had in the third round, where he was like maybe Zalal can come back, he was much more sharper even in the fourth round. And the fifth round also Zalal had nothing for him. So it was a really good performance by Aljo. And yeah, I mean he's now 3-1 in the division, which is good.
Does it say more about Aljamain or more about Yusuf Zalal in terms of the win? Because on one hand, I was like, yeah, Aljamain looked great. On the other hand, I guess I'm surprised Zalal, like some of the other guys we've seen in the last year in other divisions, like you're taking on a wrestler, you're taking on somebody you know wants to take you down. Like, I don't know, maybe it should have, more wrestling defense. Like, call me crazy, but it seems like, he just didn't have an answer and you knew what Aljo wants to do. He'll set
Yeah,
up the
man.
striking for the wrestling.
Ultra is still elite, man. So I honestly I think I said it last week to you as well. I was surprised by the line that Zalal was a favorite going into the fight. I like Zalal, but if you see the competition Aljo fought, and I know people will say Zalal fought Topuria, but it's like almost in another lifetime. You know what I mean? It's such a long time ago. But if you look at who Aljo fought, so I um I expected Aljo to be dominant with the grappling, but yeah, I mean, was pretty clear-cut win, I think, for him. Besides the third round, where Zalal was better, but overall, a pretty, yeah, I don't want to say easy win, but a pretty clear win for Aljo. No, no, uh, I mean, there was no controversy at all.
Well, call me crazy. Maybe you can jump in, but I mean, if you were running Zalal's camp, wouldn't you go, all right, we need to start maybe moving you to a more of a wrestling-based group, whether it's, hey, let's throw him into AKA and just grill with, Islam Makhachev and Cormier and that whole crew, or hey, we're gonna send you down to America Top Team, or hey, you know what, let's get you into Alpha, um, you know, Alpha MMA with Uriah Faber. Just some, guys who's like, okay, they are gonna just give you maybe like a crash course in how to defend takedowns. Like, call me crazy. That shouldn't more people do that, especially Zalal?
I mean, maybe, but at the same time, you're fighting a guy with this is bread and butter, and he always does this. So, wouldn't that make him a lot of difference? I don't know. Only we would only know if he would do that. But I mean, it's to be really honest. Like I said, I like Zalal a lot, but I never thought about him like a top 5 guy or whatever. So I just think he fought a guy who's better than him, and that happens, you know. And the higher you come in the division, at a certain moment, for people who don't become champs, you know, they will find somebody who is too good, you know. And Aljo was too good for him, and I think not just last night, but I think Aljo is just overall too good for Zalal, you know. And there's no shame in that, I think, you know.
So, all right, who does if you are McMaynard and you are, Dana White, who do you give Aljamain Sterling next? Because
That's pretty easy.
who?
I give him the winner of Diego Lopez against Steve Garcia. The fight that's on the White House. That's the fight I give him, and the winner of that fight can fight for a title. Because in my opinion, Mofsar is still next, you know, against Volk, and the winner of that fight can fight for the title. You know, even Aljo against Yair would be a possibility, maybe in Mexico later this year, or for the Nacho card, I would say. But one of those two, it's Yair, in my opinion, or the winner of Steve Garcia, Diego Lopez. One of those two.
Like as you said, since Movsar versus Volkanovski is next, or should he just wait and go, I want winner of that?
He can, but if he gets it, you never know. You know, if listen, imagine, imagine he waits, and imagine I don't say that's happening, but Steve Garcia knocks out Diego Lopez in the first round in the White House event. I mean, then you can have a problem that Steve Garcia surpasses you. You know, so you can never sitting out is not always a good, but he can. It's up to him.
Meanwhile, Yusuf Zalal, like we're on one hand, as you said, it's losing to Aljamain Sterling shouldn't be held against him. It's Aljamain Sterling. On the same time, it's like okay, that was pretty tough. So, do you give him somebody a little more like Patricio Pitbull, David Onama? I mean, is that somebody that you would go, all right, we're going to give you that next instead of, yeah, let's give you another wrestler?
I was thinking about what about Aaron Pico? You know, I prefer that, for example, you know, even like the loser of Arnold Allen against Melquizael Costa would be a possibility, I think. He has a lot of fighters he hasn't fought yet, you know, so there's not that much of a problem to match him up with somebody, I think. Um, and yeah, you can lose to Aljo, man. It's just. I think a lot of people, for some reason, were surprised that Aljo won here, man. I'm still. Listen, like I said, don't get me wrong. For before people get mad, I really like Yusuf Zalal, but I was really surprised Aljo was the underdog in this fight, man. And I said it before the fight. Adam and me and myself, we picked him on the Outbreaker podcast as our consensus underdog. So yeah, I mean, we'll see what's next for Zalal. But I think Zalal is really good in the division. But I think if he really fights the elite of the elite, I don't think he has it to beat them. But hey, you don't know. Maybe he also will. He probably also getting better. You know, he's that not that old yet. You know, but and Aljo is getting older. He's the same age as me. He's 36. You know, he's 1 week later exactly than my birthday. So he's really from my generation. But yeah, listen. I hope for Aljo he is close to title shot. I think he's close to title shot. But unfortunately, Salah will be back, man. But he will still struggle against the better guys in the division, I think.
So, this is
Yeah.
now the question on the minds of the real hardcores. Is Jocelyn Edwards, after this victory, the number one contender for the women's bantamweight championship? Whoever that is between Kayla Harrison and Amanda Nunez, because she's now the only top contender outside of Yana Santos who has a winning, win streak going in the top five. This fight wasn't great. This was kind of a slog, but still, like, is it crazy for me to say Jocelyn Edwards, number one contender?
It's actually no, it's fucking crazy if you think about it. Like Norma Dumont was on a what? On a 6 fight winning streak or whatever. And she has to keep fighting under her because she cannot fight for a title because it's basically blocked with Kayla's injury and Amanda coming back, you know. So she fights Edwards and she loses and it was deserved. I don't know why I like Norma a lot, but I don't know why she was confused. I think Edwards clearly won the fight. Um The thing is, Edwards is has been entertaining in the last couple of fights. This one wasn't that entertaining, but you need two to tango, they say, you know. Um, yeah, just not a great fight. It wasn't a great fight, great card overall, to be really honest. But this was one of the better, one of the worst fights in my opinion. But she won. She will come in the top three probably. Yeah, it's either like maybe they give her Juliana Pena or Raquel, you know. I think maybe Juliana Pena makes sense. Because Amanda's fighting Kayla next, you know, so she's not going to get a title shot. I would give her Juliana Pena. Um, I think she deserves that, but we'll see, man. For Norma Dumont, it's a really bad loss, you know. I know she was on a good streak, but she gets a girl who's like outside of the top 10, and she really didn't look good, you know. So I wonder what they're going to do with Norma next, but yeah, for Jocelyn is it's been a crazy couple of fights, you know. She was like borderline top 15, and now she will be in the top three likely, man. So yeah, things can go quickly, right? So good for her.
So what went wrong in this fight? Because we were talking about, like this could be a sneaky fun fight. If because you have a grappler versus a striker, but hey, Norma can also, strike a bit here. Like what went wrong and how much of it was Norma's fault and how much of it was just it's when we look back, we should have been like, all right, hey, this was just a bad matchup.
Yeah, just tentative, but at the same time, I don't think you can blame Jocelyn too much, you know. She took the fight also on short notice, although she had like a pretty good preparation time because the original opponent, Yana Santos, pulled out pretty early. But yeah, it's Dumont's loss mostly, in my opinion, you know. Uh, there shouldn't be like this much of a difference between number three and number 11. There should be a lot more difference, actually, you know. And I felt like Edwards was pushing the pace the whole time, you know. Dumont was more on her back foot, tried to counter, but didn't look great, you know. Listen, I saw people being controversial about the fight. I don't think there was anything controversial about it, you know. Listen, I picked Norma Dumont before the fight, but I think Edwards rightly won. So we'll see what the UFC does next. But that division is not good, you know. That division is not good.
How do you fix it?
It's
And I know
it's
we've
not it's not
talked
my
about that in the
problem.
past. Like, how do you fix this division? Because it needs to be fixed, but none of us have answers. Like, if you were in charge, I am putting you, in the driver's seat. Dana's we're sending him off to power slap. You are in charge of UFC. Like, what do you do to get more talent into the bantamweight division?
To be fair, I would get rid of the bantamweight division, to be really fair. You know, I think 125 is the best division in the UFC if it comes to the women. 115 is also kind of declining, you know, but 125 is really good. But I'm either thinking to get rid of 135, man, or like keep it at like 10 fighters pretty much, you know. And I don't want to like see people lose their job or whatever. Don't get me wrong, you know. But if you want to, how do you say that? If you want to improve it, you have to make sure that some of these people who are in the division who are not UFC level, you shouldn't let them there. You know what I mean? So that's pretty much how I see it.
I
But
feel
I don't know.
I feel like I need a forward thinker here, Marcel. I'm trying to give you some, like, all right, you have a creative genius. I mean, there must have been like hey, you know what? I'm gonna start like scouting and rating K1. Hey, I'm gonna start offering big checks to Olympic, wrestlers and judokas. Like, there must be something in there because you and I are creative outside the podcast. So again, give me like a wild, crazy idea. Like, hey, this might work. I don't know how well, but this might work to get more talent into the bantamweight division.
It's really difficult, man. You see, they have like Bia Mesquita. I think I don't understand the new matchup for Bia Mesquita, man. I think they should push her much more. She's also not that young anymore. She's one of the fighters who is really interesting to get to 135. I would have matched her up with somebody higher in the rankings, somebody like that, you know. But there are not too many girls right now who are doing great, I think, in the division.
Let's go to this was a bit of a shocker. You and I both stated that. Uh, Rafa Garcia defeating Alex Hernandez, sorry, Anthony Hernandez by unanimous decision. Did not have that on my bingo card. I thought this was a clear win for, going into this. Like, okay, Hernandez should win. He is the better fighter. What the hell happened here? And then does that say more about Garcia, more about Hernandez?
So yeah, actually, my co-host Adam, he picked Garcia the before the fight, and I went against him. I also said like I think Alexander Hernandez will be able to win here. Garcia just fought smart. He fought on the he like Edwards. He pushed the pace the whole time, and Hernandez was trying to counter him, but didn't do enough, in my opinion. To make a difference. And I thought it wasn't, to be really honest, I don't think it was a great fight. But at the same time, Hernandez was clearly winning the fight, or Garcia was clearly winning the fight, and yeah, he did well. He did really well. I think he kept pushing Hernandez to a certain moment that Hernandez really had difficulties with the way Garcia kept pushing the whole damn time. And yeah, it's a good win for Garcia. And I think Garcia is kind of a guy like who I always thought was like decent but not amazing. But he's really getting in the zone, I feel like, and he may can get to a good run in the UFC. Let's see how he does. I've got to say, I was impressed by what I've seen so far in this last couple of fights. Although, like I said, I wasn't a big fan of the matchup because I think it was kind of boring. But at the same time, I'm impressed by what he has shown lately. So yeah, let's see if they give him another step up if he impresses again.
Why didn't Anthony, I guess, or sorry, why didn't Alexander Hernandez push the pace? Because, I mean, again, you said Rafa Garcia came out there, he pushed it, but he made Hernandez uncomfortable. If I'm a Hernandez fan, I'm asking why didn't he return fire? Like he'd been on a four-fight win streak. We knew he'd won against Chase Hopper, Diego Ferrer by knockout. Like, why wasn't he able to go, okay, hey, Garcia's gonna come forward. I'm gonna match that intensity. I'm gonna come right back at him.
Yeah, I was hesitant, but I don't know why. I think he's the only guy who can answer that question. Um, but I have to take in mind that Cub Swanson, who recently retired, has put together an amazing team, man, at Bloodlines. He got like this guy Garcia, he got Danny Silva. Who did I forget? Larry and Douglas. He has put together a really good team over there, man. It's impressive what they've shown, and I mean. Yeah, what could have what could Alexander Hernandez do differently? Yeah, it's difficult to say for me. I'm not Alexander Hernandez, but yeah, he let himself get pressured, and that's how he had to fight because he let Garcia made Garcia made the fight pretty much, and he had to answer to it, but he didn't answer to it properly. So. Yeah, clear win for Garcia, in my opinion. And like I said, it's a good win. Definitely against a guy like Alexander Hernandez, who is like figured himself like a 2.0 version of him. Because I remember when he came to UFC, there were a lot of high expectations for him. Then he got that loss over Cowboy, and it took a long time before Hernandez was like mentioned even anymore into a close fight to a top 15, top 20, and now he was there with a win over here. He should have probably got somebody in the top 15, but yeah, he lost. So wasn't a good showing, and for Garcia, a really good showing, I think.
Does Garcia get somebody in the top 15 now, like a Rafael
Uh,
Fiziev?
I mean, it wouldn't have surprised me. He's not getting Fiziev, by the way, but it wouldn't have surprised me. Listen, man, the UFC does the notch card again in September. I don't know if he wants to come back soon, but if not, he will definitely be on the notch card. I feel like, as a Mexican. So, and then they will give him probably a step up, somebody in the top 15, and I wouldn't mind. I think he deserved it.
Well, this was probably one of the few good parts about the card. Davy Grant versus Luna Martinetti was basically the fight of the night. It was action packed, and Davy Grant gets to win and continues to show like age is just a number for him. Even though he's 40 years old, he's still the guy you're looking going, damn, he still has a lot left in the gas tank.
I mean, like my podcast co-host always says, Adam, Davy Grant fights for your money. That's the dude you want to put your bet on, because this guy always comes to fight, always comes to scrap, and he's one of these guys everybody loves, and he showed it again last night, how he fought. He fought the Martinetti guy who had that great fight with Volagdin in the Contender Series. But the ground was a little bit too quick for him, I felt like, and at 40, this guy is just really good. I'm happy that he got the fight in the night bonus. And before this fight, I thought this was going to be fight of the night as well, because both guys come to scrap. Martinetti, still much younger than Grant is, but he also always comes to scrap. We saw that in the Contender Series fight as well. So yeah, this was one of the highlights of the card. I felt like, one of the few highlights of the card, in my opinion.
Like it's crazy. He's the only guy who left from that Ultimate Fighter Rousey versus Tate that's still just active in MMA. I mean, every
Mhm.
other male cast member is either retired, gone, not doing anything. Like it's insane when you think like he's beaten guys, but we forget were big deals, and he still win. Like, how does he do it? He's 40 years old. Usually, age catches up. He's been doing fighting all the way since friggin' 2009. How the hell does this guy do it?
Bro, he has that grit, and that's something you cannot teach. You either have that or you don't have that. This guy is just like a tough guy, in the good way, in a good way. Um, for me, Davy Grant, and this is like a really weird comparison, and people are like, what are you talking about? He has like the Frankie Edgar mindset, I feel like. Frankie Edgar is always like the guy who is like talented, but not like overly I don't think overly popular by a lot of people, but everybody knows he works fucking hard. And he's like these guys back in the day in school, when a lot of guys were happy when they got like a six. I don't know how you say that with A, B, or C grades, but a 6 out of 10, which is just enough. But he's that guy who's pushing for an eight. You know what I mean? And doesn't matter what he does, but he always wants to be the best in what he does. And that's what I always have with Frankie Edgar, and that's what I also have with Davy Grant. These guys have a certain eagerness in the way of how they fight. If they want to do something, they want to be the best. And yeah, he's still showing that he's really good, man. I mean, it's rare for a bantamweight at 40 to still be competing with the young guys in the division. And at heavyweight it's more common, that you have like older fighters who are still doing very well. But at bantamweight, that's special, man. And I think he's really good. David Grant is really good. Always liked him. Also in the Ultimate Fighter, I thought he was really good. Um, yeah, I mean, all respect to the guy. I think he's a great how do you say that? A great dude also for English MMA. So yeah, that's a real tough veteran over there.
I know he's not going to get a title shot. I know he's not going to
Mhm.
get a top five fight. Does he deserve like a fun fight though? Like I was thinking, Chito Vera versus Davey Grant. Just make the damn fight. That will be fireworks. Put that on like it can headline a UFC Apex card. It's just two, as you said, two salty dogs who are just going to come. They're going to bring everything. Just put it on the main card. Give them some bonus money. Just say, "Go, all right, have at it."
I'm good with it, man. But there are like so many guys already pushing for that Malo Chito Vera fight. And listen, to be fair, like I said, I love Davy Grant, but this last fight he lost to Jourdain, and Jourdain also wants that Chito Vera fight, and I think Jourdain deserves it based on beating Davy Grant and winning in this last fight against Carlo Phillips. So, man, for example, I would love to see Davy Grant, Carlo Phillips. Let the guys who lost to Jourdain last time let them fight each other. You know, and Kyler is also super tough all the time. He just has a cardio issue normally, but he's super tough and he's a fun fighter as well. So, listen, if they make the Farah against Grant fight, bro, would be amazing. I love it. But to be really fair, I think that fight should go to a Jordan, for example, who is on a good win streak and deserves to fight somebody in the rankings. But if they give it to Davy, let's go. I love Davy, so I would be really happy for him.
Meanwhile, for Adrian Luna Martinetti, like on one hand, look, it's not. This is you can chalk it up to this was not probably ideal for his debut in the UFC. A guy who just literally comes to fight. Have fight will travel. Do you take anything away from it, or do you go, well,
Uh,
this might have just been a bad
this
matchup for his debut?
this is typical of the UFC, this matchup. They're like, you know what? We're gonna put this fight, so maybe this guy can take over Grant's kind of thing, and he's 1-0 in the UFC, which I knew in front that that wasn't gonna happen. So, but for Martinez, it's not a bad loss. I mean, you can lose to worse guys than Davy Grant. Plus the fact that he made it competitive with him. He made it competitive with a guy that a lot of other guys would really struggle against. So it's the same with Mark Volagdin last week. They had a great fight against each other in Contender Series. They both didn't win their UFC debut, but they both did pretty well in their debut, despite not winning. So I don't think that hurts him anything. It just sucks for him that he lost his debut.
Speaking of, sucks. Montel Jackson dropping to Rony Baceros. Kind of sucks for Jackson because we were going in just thinking, this is where, Montel can bounce back. Hey, you know what? Davison Figueiredo should have, a lot of people thought he should have maybe gotten that split decision win, but he didn't. Now he loses again to Ronnie Baceros by split decision, and you can just, I worry that's one of those kind of, back-to-back losing streaks that can set him back because it's just like, what the F? Why am I losing close fights?
I mean, he started well. He tagged Heoni and he was trying to punch him out, but his cardio again didn't show up in the later fights, and he was super hesitant. He let Heoni push him against the fence. Heoni didn't do that much, but he did enough to win 2 and 3, in my opinion. And it's not the first time with Montel. He didn't show up against Figgy. People can say it was close. I think Figgy won that fight. So, and the thing is, like, I picked Montel against Figgy and I picked Montel against Barcelos. So I'm as like honest as I can be, but I think he lost both fights. And um, a guy like I think Dan Levy said it online, and I agree with him. If Leone Barcelos had the pure talent of Montel Jackson, he would have been a five-time champ. You know what I mean? So, in my opinion, he only wins this fight pure on aggressiveness, on grit. And Montel loses here because he doesn't have that same aggressiveness in the style of fighting. Because I think if you look at the talent of both guys, I think Jackson is super talented. I think Barcelos is talented, but I think Jackson has more all-round skills and is more talented. But for some reason, it doesn't come out in certain fights, and he's really hesitant. So, yeah, it wasn't a good showing by Jackson. The first round was okay. It was a 10-9 for him, I think. And yeah, he lost 2 and 3 in my opinion. So yeah, it sucks for Montel, but good for Heoni. And Heoni finally will come in the rankings, which he deserves with that great win streak he has.
How can you fix that? Let's say, like, if you're Montel's manager, you're the UFC, and look, they like you can tell they like Montel Jackson. He has a lot of talent. There is, when he's on, he is on. So, is this mental? Is it something that he needs to change in camp? Like, do you
I
think that?
I can't give you that answer, man. I'm not in the training camp of Montel, so I don't know if he's like
Well,
if
just
he's
guess.
if
Like from what you
I
see from him, like, what
I
is it
don't,
about him that you look and go, he needs to fix this? Is it mental or is it more
it's
physical?
it looks really mental kind of thing, but I mean I cannot say that because I don't see him train. I can say it's mental, but maybe it's not. I can say he is not sharp with training. I don't know. I don't see him train, so I cannot say that. The only thing I can say is what I see in the octagon, and I see in the octagon as a guy who was really tentative to let something go, and getting pressured like the second and the third round against a guy who is like it's it's great. Don't get me wrong, Barcelos is good, but Barcelos not going to touch a title or whatever. You know what I mean? So, um, I had high hope for Jackson, but in his last 2 fights, he didn't show up, in my opinion. And Barcelos is also a guy like he's not maybe a 10 in fighting, but he always scores a 6 or a 7. You know what I mean? Yeah, and if you have a bad day, he'll beat you. If you have a great day, you can beat him. But if you both not a great day, it will be a close fight. But if you have a great day, you mostly beat him. But most guys don't have a great day against him, so they have to work hard to get where they want to be. So the Barcel is just super tough, man. He's one of these guys who doesn't go away, and I think a lot of people love this guy. I do as well. I think he's amazing.
All right, so Ronnie Paceros, what do you give him? Like I was thinking maybe Vinicius Oliveira, maybe possibly Peyton Tal, Peyton Talbot. Like who does he? Again, he's not going to be the most talented fighter, but as you said, he's just comes forward, tough as nails, brings pressure, smart fighter. He will steal sometimes more wins than he should. So who is it? Who do you think the UFC gives him next?
Yeah, I don't need to see the rematches against Peyton Talbot. We saw Barcelos winning that already. Um, I was thinking like either like you said, the Vinicius Oliveira, or you give him the Raul Rosas one, you know. But does the UFC want to test Raul Rosas against Leone Barcelos? That's a big question. I'm not sure. So Vinicius Oliveira makes sense. Why not Brazil versus Brazil? Put it in Brazil. Why not? I like that fight. Would be good, I think, you know.
Well, this had you in tears. On one hand, as he said, I love it when heavyweight fights don't go 3 rounds, and this fight did definitely not go 3 rounds. But you were one of those people who was touting when he first got signed. Hey, Marcus Buchecha, he's gonna be a big deal. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's BJJ master. And his first fight didn't go well. Second fight kind of didn't go well. This was he got knocked, not just knocked out. He got knocked the f out and literally almost lifted out of his feet by Ryan Spann. Second round knockout. One of the probably the prettiest knockouts I've seen. So is this it? I mean, if you're Marcus Buchecha's manager, do you call him and go, look, MMA is not your thing. BJJ is your thing, but MMA, you're not good at it.
Bro, they should have started the song I Believe I Can Fly from R. Kelly after that knockout. Dude flew around the octagon. And dude, I've picked him 3 times in his 3 UFC fights. He lost 2 and he drew 1, you know? Yeah, good knockout by Ryan Spann. He was able to yeah, he got taken down, but he also got up, you know, and even reversed the position. Puchacha looked bad, dude. And I thought that Ryan Spann physically didn't look great. You know, he had to cut down to go to 265, which he's a former 205er. But man, he looked great finish. You know, what can I say? I mean, almost I would say an easy 100K for Ryan Spann, deservedly so. Um, yeah, listen, this is the UFC always hopes like a heavyweight fight ends in a knockout, and this time they were lucky, but man, I mean, I don't know what to think about this division, but great finish by Ryan Spann. All credits to him. And I don't know what's next for him. You know, maybe just somebody just in the top 15, maybe just outside. I have no idea. But Buchacha has to hope that McMahon lets him fight out his contract so he gets one more fight.
Where can you put him? I mean, literally, even Adam Martin's like saying after this card, yeah, there's a bunch of people should be cut. And Marcus
Uh,
Buchecha being one of the few people got knocked out is
don't
probably on
get
the
me
top
wrong.
of that list.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I agree. But McMahon is known for letting the fighters fighting out his contract, you know? So he probably is signed for 4 fights, so he probably gets one more. But in my opinion, I mean, I don't need to see him again, to be really honest, in the UFC. Hasn't shown anything great so far. And I have no idea who you can match him up with. Maybe guys like who's the bottom, like Denzel Freeman or Max Gimenez. Max Gimenez was supposed to fight him on this card. Maybe rebook that fight, you know? I have no idea. We'll see. AJ Fry. I mean, I don't know.
Maybe call CM Punk. He's still in WWE. Hey, Punk, we actually found somebody you might be able to beat. Close. Like even again, I mean, I can imagine you watching this fight, going, "Oh my God, Ryan Spann looks like he just got off the couch after eating a couple of Cheetos and having some Fanta." My God, he's knocking up with change. I could just imagine you just like pulling hair out of your head, like Marcus. How can you lose to this guy? This guy. How? I
Yeah,
can
it happens
imagine just you
apparently.
just losing your shit at this. Because again, you were the one telling me great Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. So
Yeah, I did.
again, how Marcel?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
How bad does this say about the UFC heavyweight division? because I know that you love going on your rants. So rant away here, because I know you were talking about women's bantamweight. Yeah, I might get rid of this division. You've been planning for years. So once again, why should the UFC just get rid of the heavyweight division?
Because it's lackluster. I said it so many times. It's fucking lackluster. Gotta be honest. It's not good. Um, there are like a couple of good fighters in there. I give them that, but overall, it's not really good. So we can go to the discussion every single time we're on this podcast, man. But I'm just not a fan of the heavyweight division, and will probably never be.
Well, let's go. Well, the undercard. That was also kind of well. Let's get first to the best, sort of finish. Jackson McVeigh improved to 7-2 against Cedric Dumas by first round submission via Darce choke. That was the only finish of the entire undercard.
Yeah.
The second finish of this entire card. So, how happy were you that they ended the prelims with a finish, and you're going, "Thank God it ended."
Yeah, I mean the prelims were dreadful overall. Wasn't really fun to watch. And what you want me to say about the prelims, man? I was bored as fuck. I was talking to Adam on WhatsApp. He also was bored as fuck. We're talking to other guys in the Discord, on the James Lynch Discord. They're all bored as fuck. So like the
Tell me how
prelims
you
just
really
weren't.
feel.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The prelims just weren't good. And also the main card wasn't amazing. So it was like a really dull event overall, from in my opinion. And sometimes it happens. But listen, you got to be honest if that's the case. And I'm just being honest. It wasn't a good event.
All right, so Dumas versus McVeigh. Was it a case of McVeigh's actually good, or just these are two guys who, if you could, you would fire tomorrow? Go, yeah, you're not UFC quality. There's PFL. Just go down the road.
It's a case of Dumas not being UFC quality and McVeigh taking advantage of that, I think. Dumas hasn't looked good since like pff, 4 or 5 fights ago for a long time, and McVeigh finally got his first win. I remember when he debuted against Bruno Ferreira, he got like completely overwhelmed by him. Second fight against Zach Reese was pretty decent until he got finished, and Zach Reese turned the tables on him. And this is a good win for him. And to be honest, an easy 100K for Jackson McVeigh, which I'm happy for him, because that's big money for him probably. But yeah, I mean, I think Jackson McVeigh and Ryan Spann were really happy to be on this card, because they were the only two finishes on the card, so they knew they were going to get 100K probably.
In another slog, as we called, Eric McConico defeating Rodolfo Vieira by unanimous decision. Uh, Again, does it say more about Vieira, more about McConico, or just, yeah, this is another division middleweight where it's like, this is a bit slim pickings.
Yeah, man, it's just a bad performance by Vieira, in my opinion. Who gassed again, like always. First round was still pretty decent overall, but then he gassed, and Mecanico just was the better guy in the second and third rounds. And that's a good win for Mecanico, to be honest, because I think Vieira was a pretty decent favorite going into the fight. So that's a good win for Mecanico. He's 2-2 now in the UFC, I think. Yeah, good win for him. And a very bad loss for Rodolfo Vieira.
Should he be cut? This is his third loss out of four fights, and as you said,
I
he
mean,
gassed again. Like he's not getting younger. So is this where like Nick Mayer goes, let's just trim some weight.
I'm rooting for nobody to be cut, but I mean, I don't think he's on a 10 plus 10 contract or 12 plus 12 contract. So would you be surprised if the UFC cuts him? I wouldn't be.
Women's bantamweight actually we had again. She stays undefeated, but the wild one, Michelle Montague, defeating Mayra Buenas Silva by unanimous decision. You and I said we were hoping that she showed more, that she would just go out there and submit somebody. And again, it's a good win, unanimous decision victory, but this just felt like, again, you wanted more, and it just says, man, women's bantamweight is kind of really in trouble.
Division is also, like I said, not good, and it was another example last night, in my opinion. Listen, Montague clearly won the fight, in my opinion. Actually, should have got a 10-8 round in the first. I don't know why DC was bitching about people saying that, because like DC was a great fighter, but he's a terrible scorer.
I was gonna say that
Uh,
that's the feud we need in MMA. A DC versus Marcel Dorff, where you can just rip on DC for every week. Like, yeah, your
uh,
scoring sucks. Who's dressing you? Purple's not a good color. God, get some glasses. I'm dying for you to just go full nuclear.
uh,
Like your
compa
like your goat, John Jones. Just
com
I want tears from DC because of you.
compared to DC, I'm small beans, dude. So I don't want to say anything out of line, but I think it's terrible how these commentators are scoring fights during the fights. Don't even want to hear that. Um, but I mean, for Montague, she did okay. I felt like didn't do great either way, but she got a clear win over Myra Bueno Silva. And the first round was already, in my opinion, a 10-8. I think Myra kind of came back in the second round, but Michelle took over in the third round again. Just a decent win overall, nothing special in my opinion. It would have been special if she finished her in the first round, probably. But man, I mean, Myra Bueno Silva fought for a fucking UFC title less than 1.5 years ago. It's actually crazy if you think about it. And she was a fucking favorite against Raquel Pennington, which I never understood in the first place. But yeah, it sucks for Myra. I wouldn't be surprised if the UFC doesn't go further with her, to be honest.
And probably the biggest upset that nobody had on the bingo card. Eric, sorry, Cody Durden defeated Yafal Filo by unanimous decision, which I just sat there going, how? How did Filo lose this fight? I mean, this this is supposed to be a layup. The UFC wanted Yafal to win. He's 17-5. He was coming off a win against Clayton Carpenter. You figure, okay, Cody Durden, this is just a layup. This is Dana White privilege.
Yeah,
Didn't
I like
happen, and it almost screams that Philo doesn't almost belong in UFC despite his gaudy record. Like, how do you lose to Cody Durden?
I like Cody Durden actually a lot. I always did, but he kind of looked bad in his last couple of fights. He was 1-6 in his last seven, only the 1-2 match now, and actually was also like I think at 135 because of short notice. So yeah, I think you look pretty decent in this one. Like, I mean, and I think Filio was like really surprised that Cody could match him. And actually Cody looked much more fresher than Filio in this fight, which is crazy to me because Cody kind of took this fight on 4 days' notice. Um, yeah, good win for Cody. I'm happy for him. Probably saved his career in the UFC. This one, big win. Look good. Um, yeah, what can you say? And he's most likely already booked again for international fighting now, so that's good for Cody.
Where does your foul Philo go? Because as you said, this was a layup. Okay, you fight it on short notice, 4 days short notice. A guy who's 1-6 in his last, sorry, 1-5 in his last six fights. Like a guy who you're looking going, you should be able to beat him. Like, what do they do with him? And does he have to worry about Nick Mayer going, 32 years old? Is he now 3-3? This might be time for us to move on.
I mean, it's a bad loss to be honest, because I think the UFC was banking on him winning. But I mean, he had some pretty decent fights in the UFC. They will definitely give him another one. But man, this was an important fight for him, to come closer to the top 15, probably to get a challenge to fight somebody in top 15, and he failed here. And good for Cody, but for Jafel, it's a bad loss. It's a bad loss.
Speaking of bad losses, Lucas Brennan loses his debut to Francis Marshall by unanimous decision. Fire Marshall just basically took him down at will. Got a lot of ground, a lot of top controls from ground and pound. And maybe I'm wrong, but it seemed like Lucas Brennan just didn't want to be there. Like it was almost like I was having second thoughts. Like how bad was that match to watch for your point of view, where it's almost like one guy is sort of really going all out. The other guy is almost trying to just survive.
Yeah, it wasn't a good fight, man, like a lot of these prelims. But I mean, I give Lucas Brandon some leeway. It's a short notice fight, it's a weight class up. It's also for Francis Marshall, a short notice fight and a weight class up, but he has been in the UFC before. For Brandon, it was his UFC debut. So I give him like a little bit of more leeway than I do with other people. I want to see him in the second fight, and let's see him fight at this normal weight class of 145 instead of 155. And if he still looks like he did last night, yeah, maybe he shouldn't have been signed, but give the guy another fight. I don't want to put my decision on one fight in the weight class he normally doesn't fight in.
Maybe because I'm just sentimental, maybe because this is one of the better fights on the card and I deserve more. But in an emotional win, Victor Valenzuela defeated Max Griffin by unanimous decision. The story itself is just heartbreaking, where you know he finally got his break into the UFC. His grandmother, who helped raise him, is very proud of him. And then almost a week before the fight, she passes away. I mean, that's tough to do. Just forget about just dealing with that in regular life. Now, when you're focusing on a fight, like I'm amazed he was able to keep himself composed when he's probably hurting going into that fight.
Yeah, I mean that's of course it's very great for what he did. Listen, man, if you look at the fight itself without any back knowledge about it, that wasn't a great fight, to be honest. It was a close fight. I felt like Valenzuela did enough to win 2 rounds, but it was close. I wouldn't have been upset if they gave it to Max Griffin. That's how close it was, I felt like. But yeah, it was an okay fight, but not one I want to watch back, for example. But yeah, happy for Valenzuela. He got his first win. It's a big win for him, of course. And for Max, it sucks. Max is not the youngest anymore. Max is the kind of guy who kind of looks younger than he actually is. So it's kind of a bad loss for Max, but let's see what they do with him next.
Does he get one more fight, and if he decides to retire, retirement tribute? Because he's done everything they've asked him to. We talk about how sometimes UFC fighters should be more selective in who they fight. They should maybe be more consist, more conscious. And then you look at Max Griffin. It's like Colby Covington. You want him? Yeah, sure, I'll fight him. At least Elizeu Zaleski, sure. Mike Perry, Thiago Alves, Curtis Millender, Alex Morono, Alex Oliveira. You know, Neil Magny, Carlos Condit, Tim Means, Mike Morales, Michael Kisa, Chris Curtis. Like this is not like he's taking on like fringe guys, crumb bums. Like he's taking on usually the best. So it just feels like he is a case of a guy who management should have said, yeah, let's pass on this fight or that fight. Let's be more smarter. But kudos to him. He'll take any fight that you give him.
Yeah, he's a fun guy to watch, and he's a tough dude. But does the UFC give him a farewell package and stuff? I don't think they will, but I hope for him. I hope they do it. Would be cool.
And in the final fight at women's flyweight, it was Talita Alencar versus Julia Palostri, in which commentary was just basically just going criticizing this fight, one fighter not doing more. Does this say more about Talita or more about Julia?
I'm kind of about both. I feel like. I thought it was a close fight. I think Toledo um, slightly did enough to get the win here. I wouldn't be surprised if they gave it to Julia. It was super close, this fight. Um, could have gone either way, in my opinion, man, to be really honest. I wasn't really impressed by either one, but good for Toledo that she got the win. Happy for her.
Talita's 4-1 the UFC, but when I watched that fight, and I get straw weight's kind of thin, but is she ready for a top 15 fight, or is that one of
No,
those?
no, no.
Yeah. So again, like,
I wouldn't.
what do you do with her? Because she's not young. She's 35 years old, so that time is not her friend. But again, like you don't like you're saying she's not even probably ready for an Angela Hill or a Mizuki Inoue.
I wouldn't do that. Um, yeah, maybe Mizuki, but Mizuki fought her way into the top 15, so maybe Mizuki deserves somebody above her. But yeah, why not Mizuki? Yeah, do it actually. I don't mind. Mizuki is not very active. She fought once in the last 2 years, I feel like, and she got that win over Amarim, who is like a BJJ specialist, and so is Talita actually. I was actually laughing when Bruce Buffer announced her as a striker. I was like, huh? And then she's afterwards like, see, I'm a striker. I was like, okay, maybe she said to Bruce Buffer to call her a striker, but she's more like a BJJ specialist to me. So, yeah, why not that fight?
Well, we go from some stuff that's fun we could talk about to this was just kind of really depressing. If you have not followed the news, and yes, and a lot of you guys have probably been tuning into more serious stuff or more public, mainstream stuff. Tim Means has been arrested for. Uh, I'm even trying to go through the whole thing for basically assault and battery on his daughter. He's now being held, and it's just again, look, I've had him on the show several times, always been polite, but this just arrested on child abuse charges in Mexico. This, I get it. You're yet to be innocent until proven guilty. But if you're the UFC, man, this is a bad look. I don't even know how you can keep a guy like this on the roster when, again, the charges are pretty serious.
Yeah, you hate to read stuff like that, and I mean, I had some interactions with Team Tim Means over the years. Always been a good dude to me. So I hate to read stuff like that. The first thing I thought, like, listen, I have some dark humor, so when I read that, I said to Adam, like, why would you throw a potato instead of fry it, But yeah, it's bad, it's pretty bad. If what is written happened, it's really bad, We still need to hear Tim Means' side of the story because people are like believing everything already, but we need to be really careful with what we're saying. It's allegedly still, But
Like
yeah,
we, the facts are that there were visible hand and red marks on her neck. That
yeah,
there
true.
was blood on and in her nose where she was headbutted, and
Yeah,
red
it's
marks on her
horrible.
face. So again, I get it. Being a parent sucks at times. Kids can be kind of a-holes.
Yeah.
Speaking as a past kid, but again, it's just like, and the UFC's been very lenient at times. Yeah, we'll give a guy a chance. Yeah, we'll do this. But
By the way,
yeah.
before people take this out of context, I don't say I condone parents headbutting their kids or whatever, But yeah, that's pretty bad, If exactly happened everything that is written in that story, that's really bad, and he deserves to get this punishment for that. Um, yeah, what can you add to this? It's like you hate to read stuff like that, and definitely if I read it about a guy who I always liked and who was always like super cool to me and interactions we had, and who seems to be also like really good with the fans overall, and now people are turning on him obviously because of what came out 2 days ago, but yeah, it's never there are never winners in this kind of a story, I would say it like that.
So what happens, do you think? I mean, again, it's
I don't know.
because again, the UFC's done. They've shown the past. Yeah, they've been lenient, but again, when it's a kid, and it's like I get she's 17 years old still. When it's when it is a kid, when it is child abuse, do they react and just go, "We're distancing ourselves. We're letting Timmins go. Sorry about this, but yeah, this just looks bad, really bad."
Yeah, it does, and I wouldn't be surprised if the UFC kicks him out. I mean, to be really fair, he was already at the end of his career. Let's be honest. He's not the youngest anymore, so it's an easy decision for the UFC to make. He's not John Jones, he's not Ilya Topuria, he's not Alex Pereira. So it's an easy decision for the UFC to make. But yeah, it kind of tarnishes his legacy, in my opinion, for a lot of people as well. I think we were reading that because Tim Means was always like the guy who was like super tough. A lot of times he was the underdog, and he was able to overcome the adversity and still win the fight. And now, yeah, you have the picture here of him like in his orange what's that prison suit. Yeah, fucking sucks to see him like that. But if he did what it's written, then it's deserved. you know?
Like again, this is just, a complaint. He has not been convicted.
Hmm.
But again, this just right now, if you are just tuning in, Tim Means has been arrested for child abuse after allegedly headbutting, punching, and throwing a potato at his 17-year-old daughter. So again, if this is the end of a line for Tim Means, you feel bad for all parties, his daughter, for him, for his family, because this could get ugly quickly. But we'll move on. Let's move on. We'll move on to some better stuff. And yes, I know we're doing it quickly because there's a lot in the world that's kind of nasty. So we're gonna focus on positives. Although this is gonna be from Marcel and I, like, oh god, this fight night's gonna be fight morning. That's right. This Saturday, May 2nd at 4 a.m. Eastern Time. So for Marcel, he'll be having lunch. It's UFC Fight Night, or basically UFC Australia, in a fight, but hopefully, don't mean to jinx this. Try hard not to. Should be a barn burner, action packed fight card. Let's start the main event. Jack Della Maddalena is back in action this time. He takes on Carlos Prates in a welterweight title eliminator. Should we expect there to be fireworks, or are you even worried? Like, oh, maybe then after the last, Vegas card. I mean, I'm having some PTSD here. This fight might actually, dare I say, stink up a joint.
No, this is a fun fight, man. I mean, you got JDM who is always coming to scrap. His ground game is not that great, but same goes for Pratas pretty much. Both guys want to stand and bang. I think it's a banger. It's a really good fight. There are a lot of good fights on this card, to be really honest, on paper. But yeah, this is an amazing fight. Both guys pretty much wanted to fight each other. The UFC made the fight, and I'm really looking forward to it, man. This is a great main event in my opinion.
Who has more to lose in this fight? Jack
JDM,
Della or
JDM,
Carlos
yeah.
Prates?
100% JDM. He's fighting at home. It's pretty much his backyard, Perth, coming off a loss, a very clear loss to Islam, the current champ. If he loses to Pradas here, Pradas is good, but I don't see him as like a top three guy or whatever. I think he's like between 3 and 8, something like that. If he loses to Pradas, it's really bad for his career, probably. He doesn't touch gold anytime soon. So, he needs to clearly win here, I feel like. If he does, I don't know, because Pratis has the power to knock him out, I think. But I think Pratis has more the raw power to knock him out. I think JDM is more technical. So it's a really interesting fight how this is going to play out, because I think if it goes 5 rounds, JDM probably wins the fight. But if Pratis is able to hit him straight to the chin, he might be able to knock him out. So it's going to be a really interesting fight.
I was gonna say it's also a tale of two, streams. You got Jack Della Maddalena, who is the most clean-cut fighter you can argue. Everything
Mhm.
is in place. He's in great shape. And
Yeah.
then you got Carlos Pratas, who is the chain-smoking Brazilian who you sort
Hmm.
of look and go, how the hell does he do it? But yet he still does it. It's not pretty, but he just trucks people. Again, we've had some bet. We were told this about Reyes versus Walker.
Walker.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was gonna be a great fight. That turned out to be just, oh my God. Could this happen with this fight, or
No, no, I
are you
don't see
like,
that
no, no, no,
happen.
Chris, you're overreacting. You're being a big
Yeah,
baby. This will be
I don't
fine.
see that. I don't see that happening for the simple reason that Jack fights at home. The Perth is really his backyard. So he's going to try to win this fight. And Pratas never turns back. He always comes forward. He wants to get that knockout. So this fight, bro, I put my life to it. This is going to be a good fight. I'd be super surprised if this fight going to suck. I really think this is going to be a great fight. I really love this fight.
Co-main event
Yeah.
is Beneil Dariush taking on Quillen Salkid in a also lightweight scrap, and UFC is really putting the rocket on Quillen. I mean, this guy is only 4-0 in the UFC, 11-1 overall, and he's gone from Anshubi Jubi, Yanal Ashmuz, Nasrat Abhakwas, Jamie Malarkey. Now he's getting Beneil Dariush, who at one point was fighting for the title. So
Mhm.
is this too much too soon, or is
That's a short
Quillen, the
notice.
real deal here?
That's pretty much a short notice fight, right? I mean, Darius was supposed to fight on the last pay-per-view or on the last numbered card, but Spoden pulled out, and then they put this one together. I mean, it's a massive opportunity for Quillen Salkeld, obviously, did well so far in the UFC, but this is a massive step up. If you look at Darius, Darius is kind of on the decline. So this kind of can be like the, how do you say that, the changing of the guards. Uh, is Quillen already that good that he can beat Darius? Does he meet with Darius here at the right moment for him? Or does Darius still has a lot of the tank, and is still too good and still a level above Quillen? That's the questions you have to think about, I think. And I think the UFC hopes that Quillen wins because then they have another star for Australia probably into the top 15. But yeah, it's not going to be easy, I think. Darius is like that old guy who, when you don't expect him to rise above, he rise above you. We'll see. It's going to be an interesting fight for sure.
Like to me, this screams parallels of Chandler versus Paddy Pimblett, where you were looking, going, "Well, that might be a huge step up for Paddy." And at the time, even you're like, "Oh yeah, Michael Chandler's got to kill Paddy Pimblett," and then we find out, no, no, Paddy's kind of the real deal. Is that what the UFC is hoping for? And would you bet money that Quillen beats Beneil?
I wouldn't bet money. No, no, absolutely wouldn't bet money. I think listen, I will pick Quillen probably in this fight, but if Darius fights smart and he grapples heavy, he can win this fight. You know what I mean? So it's a three-rounder. It's possible. Um, the thing is, like, Darius is getting older and he's kind of declining in a lot of his fights. So that's why I'm not comfortable in picking him. But if the Darius from 5 years ago shows up somehow on Saturday next week, man, he can make it a really tough, difficult fight for Quillen, because I think Darius's grappling is still really good. But I have to pick Quillen because I think he can land a bomb, at a certain moment.
In I'll call it just a battle of two guys who do not get enough recognition. Tim Elliott takes on Steve Ursig at 125 here. Ursig's a guy who, as you said, who he will beat good fighters, lose to great fighters. This feels like the UFC really wants him to get a winning streak of more than one. He's coming off against Ode Osborne. Can Tim Elliott spoil it? Is Tim Elliott good enough, like Brandon Moreno and like Kai Kara France, that he can defeat Usyk in Australia?
It's possible. Tim Elliott's such an odd fighter. When you don't expect anything from him, he shows up, and when you think right now he's going to show levels, he doesn't show up. So for me, Tim Elliott's a really difficult fighter to pick all the time. I like the guy a lot. He's a veteran. I always enjoyed him. Awkward MMA. It's tough, but the thing is, like, it's tough to not pick Ertzak in this spot. I think he's also fighting at home. Expect a close fight. But I expect Ertzak to win 2 of the 3 rounds. So can Elliott win? For sure. He can win. He showed it against Asakura last time that this possibility. He showed it against Sumudarji. But I think Ertzak should be able to win 2 of the 3 rounds. But maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. We'll see.
Because that's what's throwing me off. Like, okay, yeah, Usyk's only lost to great fighters. We're not sure if Elliott is a great fighter, but he's beaten Kai Asakura. He's beaten Sumadaraj. He's beaten Tagir Albekov. I mean, he's done this before where he's taken on guys we thought, oh, they should destroy him. And then he wins. So, am I wrong to say that Tim Elliott will probably beat Steve Usyk and make the Aussies a bit unhappy?
It's very possible, man. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not going to pick him in this fight, but I wouldn't be surprised at all. I think it will be super close. And it depends on who has the longer breath till the end, I think. I mean, we know Elliot has good cardio, so definitely a possibility. But I'm going with Ertzak here, but wouldn't surprise me.
Well, to round out the main card, much to Marcel's dismay, we got two heavyweight fights. I'm excited. And I'm getting ready. I'm excited. First off, we got Shamil Gaziev versus Brando Perisic in a battle of two guys who are going to come and stand and bang the Balkan Bear against Shamil Gaziev here. This feels like the UFC really wants the Balkan Bear to be a thing. Even though he is the Balkan Bear, he's fighting out of South Australia here. Is he, I hate jinxing it, Could he be a future heavyweight contender?
Huh, maybe. I haven't seen enough. I mean, he fought 2 times in the UFC. He got 2 quick wins. He beat Alicia Ellison, who's basically like a big 205er. And he beat what's that, Louis Sutherland last time, which
Yes.
was pretty convincing. I think he's talented for sure, but we need to see him against better competition, and at least Shamil is better competition. So let's see how it goes. This is a really hard fight for me to pick. I think I think Shamil opened as a favorite. I think now Paris is just a favorite. I think Paris is just most likely to win the fight. But if I'm judging of what I've seen from both guys so far. But man, I mean, imagine Shabil shows up, and he lands a bomb on Parisi. She also can put him away. So it's heavyweight, it can go either way. But I think we will see a finish in this one. Yeah.
Because I guess the only concern I have about Gaziev is his last fight, he got basically just knocked the F out against Waldo Cortez Acosta,
Hmm.
122 in the first round. I mean, you always wonder when a fighter gets really knocked out badly, how do they come back for the next fight? Are they still the same, or are they like, I'm not sure here. I might
Hmm.
want to, I might be thinking about a different career choice.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. I have no idea how he will look. Um, but obviously the UFC wants Perisic to win.
And also in the main card, even though we've said he should not be here, but god damn it, like a deep fried Twinkie, you can't get enough of him. That is Tui Tayavasa takes on Louis Sutherland. And yes, I know Tui's lost the last 5 fights. Yes, I know he doesn't look the part. And yes, I know Marcel's going, God damn these shoeies, these chubba chubs. Why are you invading my MMA card? But God damn Marcel, this is my favorite fight on the card. This will just be a slobber knocker brouhaha. There will be no grappling. Just two big meaty men with ham hocks throwing bombs. I love this fight.
Yeah, I have no idea what to think about this fight, to be honest, because of the way, like you said it will be probably a lot of striking, and pretty much the guy who hits first will probably win. And it's very possible that Tai Tuivasa knocks him out. At the same time, it's very possible that Louis Sutherland lands a bomb and knocks him out. So,
You're worried. I understand. You're like, crap. What happens if the worst comes to happen? And if it's in the third round, they're just.
bro, if this goes to a decision, I'm taking a shit for sure in the second round. You know what I mean? So, let's hope it will be a knockout either way. I don't mind who wins, but may the best man win. Let's put it that way.
No, taking a dump is mild. You'll be cursing because I can see it'd be like two men just one trips the other. They're on the top, and you're just going, "Oh my God, no, no! This is Kimbo Slice versus Data 5000 all over again. Not on my watch. No, we need to kill this heavyweight division right there. Who do I call? Call the Australian government. I will kill this goddamn division if this happens."
No, I'm cool.
Rest of the undercard, we have Cam Roston versus Robert Brysek at 185 pound matchup here. Cam looks impressive so far from what I've seen. Like he's another Aussie fighter. The UFC wants to really push. Um, this feels like the UFC going, all right, hey, look, we gave you Andre Petrosky, then we gave you Cody Brundridge, and Brysek is a bit of a step up. What are you expecting? Is this a fight where it could steal the show?
Which one? The Brundage against Petrosky one?
Roston versus
Oh, Rose
Bryce.
against Bridgek. Um, I mean, I think it's pretty clear they want Cam Rosen to win the fight. Um, it's difficult to say. I mean, Brixak looked pretty good last time against Tavares, but at the same time, Tavares hasn't looked good for some time. And Roaston looked really good in his debut against Petrosky. And then he beat Brandage as well, where he looked good in. So it's difficult. I think if Roaston can implement his game plan, he can win the fight. But at the same time, Brixak showed in the Tavares fight that he made some steps. So wouldn't surprise me if he can surprise Roaston here. I think it will be a close fight, man.
But Juggernaut Junior Tafa is back in action. This time around, he'll be taking on Kevin Christian. The UFC wants Tafa to win. Is that going to happen, or is this might be the final fight for Junior Tafa?
Bro, I think I'm going to close my eyes during this fight.
That bad,
Junior,
huh?
yeah, it's just not the UFC level, let's be honest. Also, Christian hasn't looked great. Was a really dull fight in the Contender Series. He still got signed, and then he got like flatlined by Billy Ellicott in his debut. And also, Tafa lost last couple of times. Looked really bad against Tuku Tokos. But this is a fight he can win. Listen, if Christian somehow is going to grapple, Tafa might be fucked. But I think Tafa might knock him out early on. So, yeah, this is like the UFC trying to save one of the two Tafas. You know.
Jacob Malkoun takes on Gerald Meerschaert in another middleweight scrap. And if this was a couple of years ago, I would take Gerald Meerschaert by submission. He's another guy like just like Max Griffin, where it's just you love the guy and he will fight anybody and everybody. But four fight losing streak, including against Kyle Dacus, his last fight by Darcy Choke. Is Could this be the final fight of his UFC career against Jacob Malkoun?
Yeah, bro, I love Meerschaert. Great dude, very, very friendly as well. But probably Malkoun 30-27. I think he's going to grapple heavy and going to stay on Meerschaert and win a decision. That's what I think is going to happen. But I really like Gerald Meerschaert. He's um, one of the more underrated, underappreciated guys. I feel like in the UFC, he still has the record of most submission wins at middleweight. Good dude, but I think Malkoun wins. This is also at home for Malkoun, so I'm picking him.
Slickness himself, Colby Thickness, takes on Vince Morales in a probably it'll be an entertaining little fight all the way at Bantamweight here. This is another Aussie, and look, I know they want Colby to win, but call me crazy. I think Morales might steal this from him.
It's very possible. Morales is the kind of guy who his record doesn't come along with how good he is. I feel like, he's been in a lot of close fights. I really like Morales all the time. I was joking around with him. He was once he fought was it Draco Rodriguez, I think, and they kind of look alike. Only Draco has a mustache, so we put a mustache on him for fun. And I'm always like, since then, if he loses, like, yeah, you should have grown a mustache. It's your own fault. But he's a fun dude, very friendly guy as well. And thickness, pretty good, pretty decent. What I've seen so far from him, but Morales should be able to to pull off an upset. I wouldn't be surprised.
We get an Aussie newcomer, Ben Johnson, taking on Wes Schultz, aka Party Time, at a middleweight scrap here. I'm hoping the UFC knows what's doing because it's, hey, Ben Johnson's a newcomer that, we've had Schultz who's lost his debut. So, all right, this should be an even fight, but could this be a fight where it's like two guys where we start realizing, yeah, neither of them really deserve to be in the UFC?
Yeah, with Johnston is like I think he's a training partner for Adesanya, right? So that's maybe how he was actually kind of retired, I think, like a year ago. He came back and he gets an opportunity now. You saw Wes Schultz fighting against Baba Yaga, against Damian Pinas, didn't look great in the UFC yet, gets a second shot. He probably is brought in to lose to Johnston, but we still have to see if Johnston is able to win this fight. It's one of the fights I really don't really have a feeling about. I think the UFC wants Johnson to win, but Schultz can surprise, wouldn't surprise me. I think it's a lot closer than people think.
In a, yeah, I'm going to call it Dana White privilege fight. It is the captain himself, Jonathan McAuliffe, taking on Themba Gorimbo in a UFC welterweight fight. I like what I see from McAuliffe so far. This still feels like the UFC going, yeah, we know we want to give him, sort of an easier fight, get another win. This feels like a fight he should win probably very handily.
I mean, Gorimbo has been to Russia to train his grappling, so that's really I'm looking forward to watch that, to be honest, because He tells me that he is like really well prepared for this fight, that he has been in Russia for almost 2 or 3 months, I think, and he is fully working on his grappling to get better. He's fighting Mikhailov. Mikhailov has looked pretty decent so far in the UFC. I think his last fight, he was losing until he turned the lights out of the other guy and he was winning. So it's an interesting fight. I think Mikhailov is the favorite coming in, but Garimbo can surprise if his grappling really did improve a lot. Man, he might surprise. Well, I'm looking forward to this one, to be honest.
I mean, I give him credit for doing that because, as we said with previously earlier in the show, like with Yusuf Salah, like, hey, if you're taking on a grappler, maybe you should go and really work on your grappling. He did that, but I don't know. Again, can that work? I know it's 2 months, so it's a long time, but still, against a guy in McAuliffe who is a very good grappler, is that
Yeah.
enough time, or is that just basically, well, putting a band-aid on sort of, a gash?
I can give you an answer to that next week. I have no idea. We'll see. We'll see.
And finally, rounding up the prelim card, probably the best nickname on this entire UFC roster, the Street Buddha, the Marfan, takes on Cody Steele in the basically the early first prelim fight. Don Marfan, all the way from Brisbane, Australia, gets his second shot in the UFC. Cody losing his debut. Yeah, this should be. This feels like, yeah, the UFC really wants to make the Street Buddha a thing. So, am I crazy by thinking Street Buddha is going to just basically take it over Cody Steele?
So this actually his debut from Dong Marfan. I know he fought at UFC 325, but that's been like that's a road to UFC fight, the finale on the card. So basically the UFC sees this as his debut and he's fighting Cody Steele. Cody Steele got an amazing fight in his debut against Rong Zhu. He lost that fight. Although Michael Bisping always calls the guy Rong Zhu for some reason, but it's Rong Zhu. He lost that fight, but it was the fight of the night. This is an interesting fight. If you look at Don Marfan, he has two losses on his record, both by rear naked choke and both against Quill and Saul killed the guy in the co-main event, which is actually crazy. He was able to win the Road to UFC tournament. Now he's fighting Cody Steele. Cody Steele has only one loss, and it was his debut in the UFC at a great contender series fight against Jason Blair. He has an interesting fight, this one, man. This is actually pretty low on the card, I feel like. I think Cody is a small favorite going into this fight, but yeah, Dalmar fan can also look good. So I cannot give you a pick here because I'm still in doubt who I'm going to pick here, but it's a really interesting fight for sure. I'm looking forward to it. Should be a good fight, this one. I think it's a banger of an opener.
So overall, let's again and look, a lot of Americans will probably not watch this because it's supposed to air 4 a.m. Eastern time, which means 1 a.m. Pacific time. So people on the West Coast, you better stay really up and have lots of coffee. People in America, you better wake your ass up really early and have lots of coffee. People like you, Marcel, you'll be happy. Like, hey, yeah, I'm having lunch.
To be fair, not really, dude. It's 10 a.m. when it starts over here. That's early, in my opinion. I don't like early cards, so I'm one of the few
Yeah,
people
it's
over
it's
here who's
early for
not
you.
happy with
That's
it.
10 a.m. But for us, 10 a.m. is fine. 4 a.m. is like, oh my God, I'm
Bro,
blinking out.
4
I'm
a.m. is
blinking
normal for
out.
me.
All right, so if last weekend's card was throw it in the trash bin, burn it
Mhm.
alive, just it was horrible, and the week before was, hey, if it was all action packed Miami, how does UFC Fight Night Australia set up as?
Yeah, on paper it looks good, man, but let's hope it's also good when it's actually being fight. But on paper, for sure, looking forward to this card. I think it's an interesting fight card. There are some really good fights on it. On paper, I would say. Let's hope that in reality it's also the same.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we always love having him on the show because he will call it right down the middle, tell you the truth. And if you don't like what he says, well, he doesn't give a damn. I give you MMA insider, trash talker, and knowledge dropper. I give you Marcel Dorff. So, Marcel, once again, Where can fans check you out at? Where's the Twitter, Instagram? There's the YouTube channel. There's probably a Rumble channel. Where can fans hit you up at?
Yeah, Big Marcel 24 on Twitter and Instagram. OnlyFans, Big Marcel with no pants.com. Just kidding. Yeah, that's pretty much it. MMA Outbreaker podcast with Adam Martin every week, recap and previews of UFC cards. And you can obviously catch me here as well with Chris Connor every week. Last call. That's it pretty much right now, you know. And Tapology, the Dutch editor of the events editor. And yeah, that's it, man. You know, thanks for having me as always.
Pleasure's all mine. One of these days, you are going to get OnlyFans. It'll be X-rated, so you can go, yes, you know what? I'm going to tell the real truth about, DC. He looks like Grimace. He dresses like Prince. Get a job, you bum. I can imagine the ultimate heel feud between Marcel and DC, but that's a different story, it's a different day. Marcel Dorff, ladies and gentlemen, always on a pleasure. I've been on the show. We come back. A lot more going on here. Only on, it's Last Call. Last Call at the Alcohol. Only on the Last Call podcast.com.